Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to our session today. Stay on the leading edge as an RPA developer with learning and certification. This is a special meetup. It's a community academy circle in collaboration with our colleagues from Academy in UiPath. I'm sure each one of you is familiar with our Academy. Let's see who we have today in this session. So I'm Christina Video. I will be your host today. I'm the regional community manager for EMEA. Our first speaker today is Niyaz Ahmed, Program Manager Learning Alliances at UiPath. And we have with us also his colleague, Calin Grigorescu, Technical Learning Designer with UiPath. Some things about the session today and the small rules for this session. This meetup will be about an hour and a half, maybe a bit shorter, not longer. You are encouraged to network and share your LinkedIn profiles in the chat box if you want to connect with your peers, so please do that. We also apologize for keeping you on mute till the Q&A, but you will see we have plenty of instruments of engagement besides the Zoom chat box. We also have a link for Slido, which I'm going to share with you now in the chat, which you can use for asking questions. So please go to Slido and ask your questions and confirm to me in the chat that you can access the link. Here, everyone will be able to see each other's questions and also like and rate them, and we will take the questions depending on their importance from public voting. We also have a survey in Slido, which Calin will activate at a certain point during the meetup. So you will take that survey when the moment comes. I hope you enjoyed today's meetup. I hope there will be many insights from Academy and also some feedback from your part. And now I will hand it over to our first speaker, Niyaz. Niyaz, you can take the stage now.
Hey, thank you, Corina. Let me quickly just share my screen. There you go. Awesome. Good. So, welcome everyone, and I'll be walking you across through the UiPath certification program. So, at present, we have 2 certification examination, and I'll try my best to make sure that I'll tell all the ifs and buts in and out about the certification examination. So I would directly walk you through the website, and for your reference, I have just posted the link on the chat box for everyone to access. So when you're up to this website, so this website is the complete go through about the certification that we have. Right now, of course, some description about the certification, and when you scroll down a little bit over here, so a quick introductory video about the certification. We recommend you to go through and watch about it. And when you move down over here, this is where the game begins, right? And sorry. So if you look at over here, so over here the certification says both the certification that we have is been categorized into 2 buckets, or is been categorized into 2 slides or 2 tracks. We call them as the general track, and we call them the other one is the RPA developer track, right? Now let's say, for example, you are into the IT industry and you would like to pursue your career into the RPA developer field, or you are already working as an RPA developer, but you want to upskill yourself, by getting certified, right? Now, one of the reasons to get certified is, of course, upskilling and getting, better opportunities into the industry. So if you are following the RPA developer track, then we recommend you to take the associate examination. And then we also recommend you to take the advanced RPA developer examination. Now, apart from the developer track, the general track, the associate examination is only recommended, right? Now, there's a lot of questions that the RPA developers, or the people who are into the development field, they have a lot of questions. And the common question over here is, I want to only appear for the advanced examination. So is it compulsory for me to appear for the associate and then move on to the advanced? So the answer is no. It's not compulsory. Like, you have to first appear associate. Once you clear associate, then only you'll be able to take up the advanced examination. It does not go in that way. You can always take up both the examination depending upon your will, right? Say, for example, if you want to only take the advanced examination, you can take the advanced examination and that's it, right? Or if you want to take the associate, not the advanced, the choice is up to you. But it is recommended you start with associate, and then once you clear the associate, you take the advanced examination, right? Now, let's move down a little further, right? So this is the first examination, that is the UI RPA or the associate examination. And this is the second certification that we have, that is UiARD, or we would like to call it as the advanced examination. Now, let's move down a little bit. And this is where all the stuffs are listed upon, right? So if you look at the stuff over here, it says, get certified in 5 easy steps, right? Now, what do you mean, or what does those 5 easy steps mean, right? Now, these 5 easy steps, or, this 5 bullets that you see on my screen is, starting from the scratch and up to after your certification ends, right? So it takes you to the journey, where you should start from, what you should learn, where you will do the practice, take the exam, and not only the journey ends only till the examination, but after the examination, how we will help you to manage all the credentials that you have. Right now, sorry, let's start with the very first point, which says about which exam would you like to appear for, right? And as said, we have 2 certification available: the associate or the advanced developer examination, right? Now, clicking on the associate or clicking on the advanced developer will open this document for each and every one, right? And this document is nothing but, I call it as the ED document, or it's nothing but the exam description document, right? Now, this is the document, or, consider it as the, go-to document, right? Now, say, for example, if you have any questions or any concern regarding the examination, then this should be the only document that you should be referring to, right? Now, one of the reasons why I'm insisting this should be the only document, or this should be the only place that you're referring to, is because of this important, information that we have mentioned over here, right? Now, of course, the UiPath examination now is a global examination, and there are multiple XYZ cheats, websites which will ask you for money, and they'll tell you that, or they'll tell you that this are the examination questions, or these are the examination content. So do not fall prey to any such of this website, blog, videos, articles, any medium of information that it is. One of the reasons why we are confident to say that is because we have a third-party application running from our end, which crawls the monitor, which 24/7 monitoring, right? So it's like any such information that gets leaked, has been raised concern. Until date, we haven't come across any of this content, which says we are the official or so on, right? So just informing you in hand, do not fall prey to any such websites, any such articles which says these are the actual examination, or this is the dumps, right? So nothing far has been created so far. Okay, now let's understand what is this document all about, right? Now, say for example, if you go ahead and if you like to understand more about the examination, right? As in, what is the examination, and what should I learn in the examination, and what are all the contents. So each and everything, or any question that you have, as I said, would be answered on this particular document, right? Now let's move forward a little bit onto this document, and this is the index which says about the things about the examination, or the things about this document, as in who is a target audience for the examination, what are the exam topics, what are the exam sections, and the recommended exam preparation, exam details. Let's go through these topics, and let's understand more about it, right? So the document which I have opened now is for the associate examination. You will have the same document for the advanced examination, right? So for example, if I open this, and you should be able to see the exam description document, ED document for the advanced examination. Let's move on for the associate first, and then we will jump to the advanced, and then also understand what is the actual advanced examination all about, right? Okay, there we go. Done. Right now, let me directly speak about the target audience, as in, can I appear for the examination? That's a a big question, right? And to answer your question, if you are in a role which is a technical or a semi-technical role, you can always go ahead and appear for the examination. Right? Now, for example, if you are in a junior RPA developer role, of course, you can go ahead and take up the associate examination. Or if you're already working as an RPA developer or RPA solution architect or RPA business analyst and so on, so you can always go ahead and appear for the associate examination. And not only that, if the audience over here, if some of you belong to university, that means if you are an educator or if you are a student within the university or or a college, you guys can also go ahead and appear for the associate examination. Right now, there is an additional benefit for the students who are a part of UiPath Academic Alliance. I'll speak about that sometime later on, but first let's get forward with this document. Right now, as I said, if you are a college university student, you can always appear for the examination. And if you are a UiPath employee or you are a partner or your organization is a partner of UiPath and your organization would like you all to get certified, then of course you can always go ahead and get certified on this associate examination. Now, let's talk about what kind of experience would you need. So on an average, you should have 3 to 6 months of an RPA experience on it. Now, say for example, what I meant to say over here is you should be comfortable with working with Studio and you should have knowledge about the subject, right? Now, to gain that comfortable knowledge about the subject, the average time would be anywhere between 3 months to 6 months, right? They were expecting you should work with the Studio, you should work with your process, you should work with the program, and you should gain an experience of at least 3 to 6 months so that you are pretty much confident and then you can appear for the associate examination, right? And it's not, you should always wait for 3 to 6 months. If in case, within a month or so, or, if you're already confident about the subject and the content, of course, please go ahead and appear for the examination, right? Now, the next question is, UiPath, now if I speak about UiPath, we have an array of products into our bucket, right? Now it's not that all the products are a part of the certification. The three humble products from where we started, right? So it's UiPath Studio, robots, and the orchestrator. These are the three products which are a part of the examination. And on top, with respect to the three products, the version number of all the three products would be 20.10, right? So for Studio, you need to prepare content which is there till 20.10, right? Now, if you are following the UiPath community very strongly, you would have seen in the last month, we have released the new version of the Studio, right? 21.10. Because we, every year in the month of April and October, we keep on releasing the new version of our software, but the examination is not on the current version, right? So the current version has been just released. So the examination is still on the version 20.10, right? If in case in future, if we update our examination, so all those information will be passed on to everyone and those things will be recorded in this document itself, right? So as of now, no change in the examination as of now. So your examination will be on the version 20.10, right? 20.10 for Studio, robot, and the orchestrator, right? Now, moving forward, what are all the topics that you need to prepare? Right? Because Studio is together a big topic, right? Orchestrator again, is a huge concept, but there are some contents or there are some subtopics and topics that you need to learn, right? So the entire exam is been divided into 8 categories or 8 buckets. So we start with the very basic, that is RPA fundamental, and then moving on to a Studio, right? So the second topic would be UiPath Studio overview, and then now we will jump deep into the Studio, right? So we'll start with what are variables and arguments, and then the selectors, control flow, data manipulation, and some advanced concepts and techniques, and on the last, the UiPath orchestrator overview, right? So it's an overview because there are only a limited set of topics that you need to study in order to appear, in order to get yourself certified with respect to orchestrator, right? And if you move forward over here, you would also see, the each and every exam topics have been explained in detail, as in what all things you are needed, what all things is needed for you to study over there, right? So if I speak about UiPath Studio overview, so you should have a knowledge about how to work with the studio. I think debugging feature is a part of the studio, so you should understand the in and out, how debugging works, what are the actions, what are the different panels in the debugging menu, and how do we manage dependencies, and then your version controlling. So this version controlling is very specific to Git, SVN, and TFS, right? Orchestrator version controlling is a different concept altogether. This version controlling over here is very much related to you for your teams and your colleagues, right? So you would like to collaborate with your team in order to build a process. So this is the source controlling or the version controlling that we're speaking about over here. And of course, if you drill down this document, it speaks about each and every topic very beautifully, as in what you need to study with respect to them, right? Selectors, very important topic, right? Of course, without selectors and without arguments, right? You cannot proceed further, right? So the golden line, which I always say is, make arguments and selectors your best friend, right? So if you work or if you understand the concepts of arguments and selectors, in depth, then a journey for UiPath or the certification, would be, a very easy flow for you. Now, the control flow, data manipulation, and in the advanced, concept. So there are three important modules over here: the email automation module, the PDF automation module, and the Excel automation module, workbook automation module, right? And then lastly, we will speak about the orchestrator. So in the orchestrator, of course, how to publish, how to configure your orchestrator with your UiPath robot or the assistants. Of course, all the basic is needed. But with respect to the functionality of the orchestrator, you're only supposed to, prepare on queues and assets, right? There are multiple topics related to the orchestrator, but in this document, it will clearly said you will prepare with respect to queues and you will prepare with respect to assets in them, right? So please make sure, if you want to appear for the examination, so stick to this topic itself, right? Nobody's stopping you to learn, something extra or something more, but in order to appear for the certification, these are the only topics that we should know, right? So that was, all about the associate examination topics. Now, if I move down a little bit towards this end of the document, now in this document, sorry for that. So this is the detail of the document, as in what is the name of the examination, which is UiRPA, associate examination and all. And coming here to the main point, what is the exam duration? So the entire exam is for 90 minutes. And what is the passing score? So the passing score for the examination is 70%. And the exam fee is $150. So we are speaking with respect to US dollar. So it's US dollar 150. Now, depending upon the country in which you reside, there might be a local taxation applied on the $150, right? So you would need to speak to, or you would need to get in touch, with your state law, and then you will understand, is there a GST or a local tax on this amount or not, right? Now, for example, say for example, if I would want to appear for the examination, I would have to pay. I would have to pay $150 plus the tax depending upon my region. Now, as I was speaking about, if you are a student or if you are an educator of an university or an institute or college, and your university or your college is a part of UiPath Academic Alliance, right? So we have a program running, UiPath Academic Alliance. And if you are a part of our UiPath Academic Alliance, so all the students in your college and universities would get a 50% discount on the examination, right? So now the exam fees for the associate would be $75 plus, the local tax or, the GST, which I was saying. Now, this 50% voucher is only and only applicable to the UiPath Academic Alliance people, right? So the students, also the educators will get this benefit. Right? Now, say for example, you are on to your 4th year of your college, and your final semester is done, and you move out of your college, as in you're graduated, you're on to industry or something. And if in that moment, if you still want to get this $50 50% benefit, then you'll not be eligible, right? So in order to get that discount, you have to be within the college, and then only you'll be able to get that discount over there, right? So that was it. And let's move on to the advanced section, right? So the details all remain the same. Things that are going to change over here is what whom, or who's the best fit, as in can I appear for the examination, right? Again, the same question. So in order for you to appear for the advanced examination, it is recommended that you should have a 6+ month of experience, as in the hands-on experience, right? So you should be, in your organization or in the XYZ place working as an RPA developer. And a 6+ month, is the estimation time, is because you'll start with, a very basic project, and later on you will also move on to, an advanced part of the project, right? Now, the advanced part which I'm interested over here, would be around RE framework, or some other concepts that we have, right? So again, it's not compulsory, as I say, you should have the 6 month plus of experience only, then only you can appear for the examination. If you are comfortable with the subject, then please go ahead and appear for the examination, right? So the product remains the same. You will be again tested on Studio, Robots, and Orchestrator, and the version also will be 20.10. Now, over here again, if you see, the entire advanced examination is also divided into 8 concepts, right, or 8 categories, right? Starting from Studio, then let's start moving ahead to some of the advanced topics now. That is activities and properties, and the most important concept is the RE framework. Then selectors, again, in-depth knowledge of the selectors is required. And then you would be tested on .NET classes and objects, right? Now the reason .NET classes and objects are here, because you all know that underlying the architect of UiPath, it's .NET framework itself, right? So UiPath is built on .NET framework. So of course, you should have the knowledge of the .NET classes, methods, and objects, and so on, right? Then advanced function, error handling and troubleshooting, and some of the advanced orchestrated functions. Right? Again, I'll not go through all the points of the document, but as I said, for a particular topic, what are all the subtopics that we need to study? Each and everything is being mentioned in this document, right? So again and again, please refer to this document and then start the journey, for preparing for the examination, right? Cool. So I'll not go across all of them. I'll leave it up to you. Go through it and then understand about what are all the topics that are needed in order to prepare. And this is the area. This is the exam details page, which I'm interested again. And some things change over here. That is, of course, the exam name is going to change over here. And apart from that, the exam duration also has increased now. So earlier for the associate examination, you had 90 minutes. And now over here, you'll have 120 minutes for the examination. And the passing percentage will still remain 70. Right? But the exam fees is now $200. Right? For the associate, it was $150. And for the advanced examination, it would be $200 now. Right? And again, if you are a part of UiPath Academic Alliance, so you would, get a 50% discount on it, and the exam cost would be, somewhere around $100 plus, the local GST or taxes, depending upon the country in which you reside. Right? Okay. So that was the point 1, as in, the 5 steps to get certified. So we have done with the first step, as in which exam would you select, and what would be the topic that would you, that you need to prepare. And the next obvious question, right, is it now what are all the topics that you need to prepare. Then the next question is, from where should I start learning, right? So we have also taken care of that So the second point speaks about, from where you can learn. Again, clicking on, any of these links over here will open up this document over here, right? And this document speaks about what are all the options that you can have, which will help you to prepare for the examination, right? And the very first option over here is, of course, our UiPath Academy, right? So each and everyone know about the UiPath Academy, and of course, Calin will also speak more about the UiPath Academy afterwards. But the very first option that you can always learn at free of cost is from the UiPath Academy, right? So right now, currently, in the UiPath Academy, in the navigation bar, we have dedicated a section called the certification. And when you click on that certification section, you can start directly your associate or your advanced learning plan, right? Now, apart from that, as I said, if you are a part of UiPath Academic Alliance, so your college and universities would receive content from our site, and you can use those content, and you can prepare and you can appear for the examination. Apart from that, the third option would be, you can learn from the ULP. ULPs are nothing but UiPath Learning Partners. Right? So at present, we have these many UiPath Learning Partners with us. To name a few: Udacity, LearnQuest, Trenocate, these are the UiPath Learning Partners. So you can always go through, these websites, and then you can, start learning from there, right? So each and every partner has its own method of delivery. Some of them are virtual. Due to COVID, it's all virtual ILT sessions now. Some of them are like MOOC. So it's up to you. Feel free to navigate across all the UiPath learning partners, whichever feels comfortable. You can always go ahead and start learning from them. Right. So these are the three areas from where you can start learning from them, and of course you should have and hands-on experiences working on it. So that was about the second part. So for the advanced also, it's the same thing. You can start learning from the academy or your UiPath Academic Alliance. So you will get the content and you can start learning from them. Now comes the very important point. That is, at present, you know which exam you want to appear, and you have studied each and everything for the examination, right? Now the next step for you would be starting to take up the examination, right? So we would like to put a hold there. So we would not, we don't want you to directly go ahead and take up the examination. We would like you to take up a practice test before, right? So take a practice test. And what will the practice test do is, the practice test will give you an idea or an overview about what is the actual certification exam all about, right? It will give you a feel of what is the actual examination all about over there. Right, sorry for that. Okay, now clicking on the RPA Associate or the Advanced link will open up a third-party application, which is on the Brilliant platform. So you would need to go ahead and fill some information. And also you have an area or a section which says relationship to UiPath. Customer, partner, student. Since I'm an UiPath employee, I would choose this option called as UiPath employee. And then I'll go ahead, agree, disagree, it's up to you. And then click on login. Right? And there you go. And over here is what it says, that the practice test is also on Studio, Robots, Orchestrator, and the version are 20.10 and 20.10 itself. Right? Now there is one thing which I would like to clear over here, is that the practice test examination clearly says that there would be 47 questions over here. So the entire practice test would have 47 questions. And of course, you would need to score 70 and above in order to complete it within 90 minutes. Now, we often get a question over here which says, the practice examination contains 47 questions. Does the actual proctored examination also contains 47 questions? The answer is no, right? I do not have the rights, or I don't know the information as in how many questions will be there in the actual examination, right? So do not assume that the actual examination will also have 47. it will be less than 47. It can be more than 47. I don't have an answer to it, right? And there would be no negative marking on the questions, right? So feel free to appear, or I'll say request you to appear for all the questions, because there is no negative marking over here, right? Okay, done. And now you can start answering the practice questions, right? There you go. So MCQ-based questions, I'm not going to read any of the questions. I'm just simply, going ahead and marking the questions, right? But feel free to, always post a comment. Say, for example, if you have any questions or regarding this, question that is been displayed, you can always comment. These comments reach us, and then we will take the desired action that we do, right? So 47 questions, feel free to go ahead, each and every question really carefully, understand the answer choices and then proceed further, right? Now, I do not have the time to, go ahead and, mark all the questions because that would take a lot of time. But what I want to say over here is, after you complete your exam practice set, as in all the 47 questions are done, you would get a summary of your result, saying these many questions were wrong, and that questions belongs to which category, right? As in which belongs to which section, right? So it will tell clearly that in this section there were 4 to 5 incorrect questions. Now that should give you an idea where to focus more, right? There are 8 topics, correct? But say, for example, at some of the topics, say for example, RE framework. In RE framework, most of your answers are incorrect, which directly tells you that this is the area you need to do, a more practice on. Again, go back, do, hands-on practice, and then again take up the practice examination, right? So you can take up the practice examination n number of time. No one is going to stop you. But keep in mind that in the associate, it says there are 47 questions, which means each and every time you give the exam, those same 47 questions will appear in front of you. The ordering of the questions will be shuffled. That's it. So it does not mean, each and every time you give a practice exam, which means, a new set of questions will come. No, the same 47 questions will come up, when you give the practice test again and again, right? So that was the step 3, which is practice. And now comes the important part, which is, taking up the actual examination, right? Now, since as I said, it's a global recognized certification, and, we all know Pearson View is the vendor of, many examinations that we have seen. So does UiPath is, also associated with Pearson, right? So both are associate and our advanced examination, is being rendered or is being hosted on Pearson View centers itself, right? So you have to go to Pearson View, pay, get the voucher, and then schedule the exam from there, right? Pearson View Center, Pearson View have more than 6,000 plus, centers across the globe. So you can always go to any of the Pearson View centers and, give the examination from their centers. And Pearson View also has a concept called as On View, which allows you to take the examination sitting at your comfort, sitting at your home or office or, XYZ location, right? So it's not necessary for you to go to Pearson View Center also. But given that fact, which you're giving the examination from your, from your home, the Pearson will have some constraint that you need you need to follow, right? I'm not sure about all the constraint that they have, but I'm aware of one of them, that is your webcam or your camera should be on throughout the examination, because there would be someone who will be monitoring you. And there are some XYZ parameters that you need to follow, right? So you can always visit OnView Pearson page, and you will get the list of all the parameters and constraints that you need to follow in order to give the examination from your home or office or XYZ location that you have, right? So that was the step 4. And now let's speak about the final step, that is the certification, right? As in, you got certified. Now what's the next step? The next step is all your credentials, as in all your certifications and each and every credentials will be stored in a third-party application, right? So we have a website called as Certmetrics, and all of the credentials are hosted on Certmetrics, right? Your batches, your certificate, each and everything will be hosted over here. Now, what I'm trying to say over here is you don't need to make a copy of your certification locally. If you want, of course, you can do it. No one is going to stop you. But on this platform, after the examination, you will be given a login credential. So you can always log in to this website and you can always see your batches. So here is my associate and my advanced batches. And here is my certification for both the examination, the advanced and the associate, right? So you can start down, you can always download it from here, or you can always share it your recruiter or your resume, whatever you want to do, right? So it's again a web portal. You can always go to this website and you will have access to all your credentials that you have, right? As I said, as of now, we have only 2 certifications, but let's say, for example, in the future, we come up with more certifications that we have. So all of your certifications will be available inside this Certmetrics portal itself, right? And that's it. That is all about, the entire examination in a nutshell, right? So as I'm saying again, if in case you have any questions, your only solution will be this website. That is, the uipath.com/learning/certification. And in this website, these 5 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that is select exam, learn, practice, take exam, and manage certification, right? So these are the only 5 steps that you need to follow, right? And apart from these, right? Say for example, if you have any questions, of course we have the FAQs, so you can always go ahead, read the FAQs. I assume that most of the questions should be answered over here in the FAQ itself. Say for example, the FAQ also is not helping you to get the answer for the question that you have, then you can always reach back to these email addresses depending upon the concern, right? Say, for example, if you have a concern regarding the POSN centers, then you can always reach out to these email addresses. Or if you have any concern regarding to the examination of the certification, then you can always reach out to us at certification@uipath.com, right? And the certification team, is a tremendous team, and for sure they'll try to give you the solution to the question that you have, right? Okay, so that was all about the examination, and I wish all of you, if in case you're appearing for associate or advanced, we wish you luck, and we hope that you clear the examination in the first attempt itself, right? And Calin, over to you.
Thank you so much, Niyaz. That was a really good presentation. Just give me one moment, please, to share my screen. Just checking. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Okay. So hello. Thank you so much for joining the session. My name is Calin Grigorescu, and I'm part of the team which develops the training for UiPath Academy, including the RPA Developer Foundation and Advanced Learning Plans. In this part of the session, we'd like to talk a few learning best practices. We've noticed that that has been one of the items which was requested as part of the registration form. And we will look at what they look applied in practice to help you get the most of your training time for the certification and beyond the certification. And then we will see a few next steps, what you can, or how the Academy can help you after you have already passed your certification. So I would propose that we get started. Okay. So the first thing is we'd like to have a look at a few principles that could help you get the most of your training time for the certification. And there are 6 principles that we would like you to consider while you are preparing. One is active engagement. This is to make sure that while you are learning, you should be sure to engage actively with the content, which means that you are thinking through your content and you are also practicing as much as possible throughout your training. Second is practice recall, which means that rereading the material or reviewing the videos has quickly diminishing returns. One of the better practices is to ask questions and to try to apply the knowledge as soon as possible. Then you should try to apply this knowledge to different contexts. For example, if you see one scenario presented in the video, it's great to apply this knowledge to a different scenario in a practice session, or maybe in a project of your own. Then it's spacing out the learning. So if you're planning to spend 40 or 60 hours to prepare for one of the certification exams, our recommendation is to spread that time across maybe 2 weeks, or rather than only one. So it's often better to have your training sessions shorter and spread out across time rather than concentrated in full days, let's say. And then we have interleaving topics, which means combining knowledge areas in your practice whenever possible. So instead of focusing solely on one topic at a time, as much as possible, try to combine things like variables with control flow in your practice, or logging with exception handling, and all of those things. And you will notice that we do tend to do that a lot in our courses and in our questions. And then we have organizing your concepts while you're learning. I encourage you to try to draw diagrams and try to map out how the activities, expressions, and generally the concepts that you find in your training relate to one another, and to try to see how they are connected. Okay, now we have these 6 learning principles: active engagement, practice recall, apply to different contexts, spaced out learning, interleave the topics, and organize the concepts. Let's see what they would look together in practice. Okay, so here's a few steps that we recommend you could use when preparing for either your associate or your advanced certification exams. The first thing we would recommend doing is reading the certification documents. Niyaz has already presented them. If you just give me one moment. Okay, here we are. So do make sure as a first step to read the exam details for either the associate or the advanced RPA developer exams, because that will help you focus a lot more and help you understand what is expected of you in the following steps. This is maybe a bit of a strange recommendation, but study after study in the learning field show that taking a test before you actually start learning really helps you focus while you are doing the training, or you are attending the training. So I would recommend that you take the practice test before you start learning on the academy, and then you start learning. We'll see that we can take the test again towards the end, but this will really help with promoting active engagement and understanding what you should be focusing on while you're attending the training. Of course, the practice test, you can find them here again, as Niyaz showed a bit earlier. Okay. The next step that we would recommend you take is to build along with the videos. This, of course, promotes active engagement and really helps you identify issues early. It's very common to go through a video and feel like you have understood everything. I know that happens to me a lot, or that used to happen while I was preparing for my certification exam. And usually building along with the video really helps discovering issues early and also engaging with the content that is presented. We are already in the academy, and here's a quick tip. Maybe you haven't seen this already. It's great if you do, but I thought that I could show you. If you go to the UiPath Academy and you click the certification tab over here, you will find the learning plans for either certification, either RPA Associate or Advanced RPA Developer. And you can just access the learning plans from here. So that's UiPath Academy certification, and let's say RPA Associate Learning Plan. If you click here, and Learning Plan Curriculum, you will find all the necessary training in the Academy right here. Okay. Okay, so this is point number 3, building along with the videos, highly recommended. Point number 4 is to make sure to answer the questions in the courses. This relates to the previous principle that we've talked about, which is recall. And this step provides an opportunity to practice recall and again, identify issues early. You might notice that in the knowledge checks that we have throughout the Academy courses, not all questions are related to the topic which has been presented in the course. And this is because we are also trying to support you with interleaving the topics a bit, the other principle we've talked about. And you will often find a few questions from previous courses as well in each knowledge check. That's just something to keep in mind while you're preparing. This really helps to strengthen the learning. Next, I would recommend that you solve the practice sessions. And if there's one thing that I recommend you do, I can understand that a lot of these steps could take a lot of time which you may or may not have. But if there's one thing I strongly encourage you to do, that is to solve the practice sessions, because this step usually brings the most benefits in terms that it promotes active engagement with the concepts that have been presented throughout the courses. It promotes a lot of recall because you have to remember what was presented in order to apply it in the practice session. Of course, you're also applying the knowledge because usually what's presented in the videos is not exactly the same situation where we ask you to implement it in the practice sessions in each course. And of course, practice sessions always help to interleave the topics because no practice session is focused on a single, let's say, knowledge area. For example, no practice sessions is focused solely on variables, but usually involves variables and some control flow, or it's not focused solely on logging, but it usually involves some debugging and exception handling as well, things like these. So practice sessions are really, really important, and we strongly recommend solving them. And as a way in which we recommend solving them is before you go to the solution which we provide, if you get stuck during a practice session, we recommend that you use the documentation and forum first, because this promotes operating with the concepts in a different way, learning how to ask a question about a certain context and learning, let's say, the lingo a bit better if you're new to RPA development. And it helps develop an essential skill, that of research. And what's more, it also can help you strengthen the learning quite a bit, because it's clear that it's important if you're doing research around this topic. So again, before you jump to, if you have an issue or if you get stuck during a practice session, we strongly recommend using the documentation and forum first. Next, we've already talked about this in the previous slide, but we recommend spacing out the learning in the sense that, let's say that you are planning to spend 40 hours to learn for your associate exam. If you have an option between distributing those 40 hours in 1 week, which is 8 hours per week, 8 hours per day, or distributing them over 2 weeks, which is 4 hours per day, we strongly recommend distributing them more towards the 2 weeks. And that is because between each of the sessions, of the 4-hour sessions that you do, you get to practice a bit of recall and you get to remember what you've learned in the previous session, which again really helps you strengthen out the learning. And of course, learning is very, very tiring. And trying to learn for 8 hours straight could cause a few problems. And it's much harder to stay actively engaged throughout that amount of time. So whenever possible, we recommend that you space out the learning and try to learn in shorter sessions over a longer period of time. Another one is taking notes on key expressions. Especially if you're not very familiar with VB.NET expressions, you will find quite a few throughout the training, especially in the variables lesson and more than any other lesson in the data manipulation lesson. And we recommend, we recommend taking note of those expressions which you find important. And that is because it really helps you organize the learning. Like, what is the correct syntax for a split, or what is the correct syntax for a string format? What are the arguments? All of these. It will really help you figure out the next steps and create, let's say, a cheat sheet for your VB.NET expressions. But not only that, if you've already saved some of your expressions, we strongly recommend that you use them in a few independent processes. And that means while you're doing the learning, and especially, let's say, after you're halfway through the course, we recommend that you start trying to automate a few things on your own, which are not necessarily part of the course, and trying to see if you can use the expressions and activities you've seen so far to create your own automations based on something that you need. Again, this is very strongly tied to solving the practice sessions. Practicing with the activities and with the expressions is one of the strongest. This is one of the things which can greatly most improve your learning experience. Okay. And last but not least, we recommend taking the practice test again once you're done going through the training. You've answered the questions, you've done the practice, and you've tried a few projects independently. Take the practice test again, and then consider going for the exam of your choosing. Okay. If you have any questions about these aspects, please don't hesitate to share them, and we will answer them. And of course, at the end of if you find this useful, we will share the slide deck after the event. Okay. So this covered the learning best practices and tips and tricks. For the next part, we would like to make a few recommendations about what you can do after you have passed your certification exam, especially the advanced certification exam. There are many more areas where you can prepare and you can continue your development as an RPA developer. And let's have a look at a few of them. Okay, one is excelling with Studio Robots and Orchestrator. And on the Academy, we have quite a few courses that can help you do that. One is the Object Repository, which can help you greatly improve your development speed and with modern UI automation. Another one is AI computer vision, again, related to UI automation, which can greatly enhance your development for various kinds of environments using AI technology. Then we have SAP automation and IT automation, where you can focus on different scopes and learn more about them. Soon, we will have this exciting new topic, which is working with Linux robots. So stay tuned and follow the Academy for more information on that, because right now we are a development in 21.10 is that our robots can now work on Linux as well. A next direction that you can take your learning is extend your development capabilities to, let's say, a bit of a different area. One is attended automation for RPA developers. Again, we have quite an extensive 16-hour course on this, which can teach you about the basic principles of attended automation and how to use tools such as forms, callouts, inter-process communication, background and foreground processes, triggers, and so on. And another one is orchestration process, which is closely tied to Action Center. An orchestration process can help you understand how you can build long-running workflows and actually tie larger processes together in, let's say, which run across your entire organization. Like you can think of a recruitment process or something or accounts payable or something which is very large. And orchestration process can help you via asynchronous processing to tie much larger bits of automation together. And it's tied with Action Center in the sense that you can also include humans in the loop, where they can provide approvals or they can provide their input for the process without actually stopping the processing. This is where asynchronous processing comes in. Okay. Another interesting aspect that you can visit is exploring new areas. And there are quite a few courses that you can take on the Academy to extend your capabilities as an RPA developer. One is UiPath Data Service. So you would learn more about how to work with what is essentially a database service provided by UiPath and how to tie your automations to it. Then we have the UiPath test suite training, which can teach you how to practice application testing and RPA testing. Then we have UiPath apps, which can help you build low-code apps to be used in your organizations. Then AI Center and document understanding, which can greatly enhance document processing or intelligent document processing using UiPath, and automation ops, which is a great way to learn about runtime governance with UiPath. All areas which are pretty exciting and could be very, very useful in developing your capabilities and how your organization uses automation, of course. And last but not least, we would recommend staying up to date with the latest features. You will see that for every release, fast track release, and long-term support release, we provide a platform updates course, which means in every October and April, we launch the platform updates courses where you can see all of the new features which have been released for the new version of all UiPath products. This could be very useful to stay up to date with, of course, the latest feature. This is where you could also find out if we release new products, and as well what enhancements have been provided to the existing features. You will find quite a few interesting things in these courses as our research and development teams continuously invest in improving the features. Okay, and this covers some of our recommendations for continuous learning. So these are some of the areas that the Academy provides to help you with after you have already passed your certification exam, but not necessarily only. You can also check them out while you're learning for your exam, or let's say after you've passed your associate exam and while you're learning for your advanced RPA developer exam. Okay, thank you. And with this, we would like to ask you a few questions as well. So if you remember, in the meeting invitation, we've mentioned that we'd like to find out a bit more about how we can improve our learning experience on the Academy. We're looking here especially at the RPA Developer Foundation Learning Plans and RPA Developer Advanced Learning Plans, but of course, it's not limited to these. I think many of you already are preparing for the certifications or have passed the certifications, and hopefully you have checked out the Academy training. So we have a few questions about them. So Christina, if you could please share the Slido questions in the chat. Sorry.
I just shared the survey link in the chat. So it's different from the Q&A, it's a survey link. And Calin will walk you through the survey now.
Yes, thank you so much. Just give me 1 second. This is easier. Okay, so we have a few questions that you'd like to help us with, which would help us greatly improve our learning experience as we continue developing the RPA Developer Foundation and the RPA Developer Advanced Learning Plans. And the questions are related to a few things. The first one is, what do you think about the number of video demo and hands-on practice use cases in the RPA Developer Academy training? And this is related to the use cases in terms of industry, applications used, or processes that you see. And do you think that we are using enough use cases? Should we use more, or should we use fewer in our training? And when we say video demo and hands-on practices, it refers to the video demos that you can find in the courses, and hands-on practice sessions, again, you can find in the courses under the practice category. Then we'd like to ask you if you could give us a few examples of different use cases that you feel would be useful to include in our training. That means, again, of industry, applications, or processes that you would like to see in the academic courses. I hope this feels clear enough. If not, please do ask. Then the other one is, what do you think about the average individual course duration in the RPA Developer Academy training? This goes both for the RPA Developer Foundation as well as Advanced. Do you feel that each individual course usually goes a bit too long? Is it the right length of time? Or do you feel that they could be even longer? And the last question is, based on your experience so far, going through the training, do you feel that, which of these topics do you feel that would be, let's say, a bit more difficult if you encountered it while in your day-to-day work? So if you had to develop a process in your day-to-day work, which one of these topics do you feel that you would need to spend more time researching? And this question is related to how we can improve some of the courses and see where we need to focus a bit more on developing those courses. So thank you very much. I think if we take around 5 minutes for the questions, would that be okay? Or do you think it's too long?
I think it's okay. Let's see if we have any live questions besides the two that we have in the Slido. So everyone should be able to unmute now. And if you want to ask any questions, please do. And please tell me in chat if you are not able to unmute.
Hi, Calin, this is Guru here. Thanks for sharing the details. I'm just want to know how many attempts we can take as a certification, either SSL or advanced level.
So there is only one attempt at the certification exam per voucher. And as far as I know, Niyaz, please correct me if I'm wrong, you can try as many attempts as you'd like, but each attempt is a different voucher.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So Calin is absolutely correct. And say, for example, you want to appear for the second time. So there's a cool down period. So you'll have a 2 weeks of cool down period before you appear for the second attempt. And from the third attempt, all the subsequent attempts, you would have a cool down period of 1 month. So it's like the second attempt, you'll have to wait for 2 weeks. For the third, fourth, and XYZ attempts, you'll have to wait for 1 month and so on. And for each and every attempt, you'll have to take up a new voucher, pay the fees, and then you can appear for it.
Okay, thank you.
And there is one more question on the Slido, which is how many questions do we get in the advanced examination? And as I said, we don't have that information, but the only information that I can give you is about the practice examination. So we have 51 questions for the advanced examination in the practice test and 47 questions in the associate examination for the practice test. And that's it. That's the only questions.
And just to answer another question, you can take the practice tests as many times as you like.
Correct.
Does anyone else want to ask a question live?
This is Guru again. So is it like mandatory to take like associate before going for advanced level, or it's like we can skip the associate and we can go for the advanced?
Yes, you can skip the associate and take up the advanced. So it's up to you how you wish to take it. Associate, advanced, or advanced associate. It's up to you. You can take it any which way you want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You will notice, for example, that in the Academy, for the Advanced RPA Developer Certification training, we have all of the sessions which are included in the associate as well. So you can even just go for this learning plan and go directly for advanced if you feel comfortable.
Okay.
And one more thing I would like to add, when preparing for the exam, if you plan to learn via the Academy, this is the best place. I know we've already gone through this, but just note that this is the best place to find the training for the exam, which is currently live. So if you go to Certification, Associate Learning Plan, or Advanced RPA Developer Learning Plan, you will find the learning plan for the live certification, meaning that it is the correct version. It's not older, not newer than that. Just wanted to mention this. And you will find here all of the necessary training.
Calin, we have another question from Mary Hamilton. She asks whether it is okay to practice using the 2021 version.
That's a good question. We would recommend as much as possible using the version that is currently live for the exam, which currently is 2020.10. But if you look through the training, you'll find that the training is based on the 2020.10 version, and it shouldn't be, given the difference between 2021 and 2020.10. I wouldn't say it's a huge problem. I think it's quite easy to manage. For example, when I sat down for my certification, I was using a newer version as well. I was using Community, and the certification was on the last long-term support version, on the previous long-term support version. So it's completely doable. Just make sure that you pay attention to the training and that there's something different in your version of Studio. Keep with what is in the training. Does that answer the question, Mary, or would you like more details? Thank you.
That's okay. Okay, we have another question from Lei. Is it possible for someone without programming experience to catch up?
Okay, short answer, absolutely. And I'm saying that because my background was of somebody with no programming experience, and I've studied through the academic courses, and as I was working on them, I was able to get to a point where I passed the advanced certification. So, well, that's one example, but we've seen other examples as well where somebody without prior programming experience have been able to pass this, to clear the certification. For somebody like it was in my case with little or no programming experience, I would recommend going through the, let's say, not rushing through the courses and doing as much practice as possible and focusing a bit more on understanding the VB.NET expressions, like trying to break them down, see what makes them tick, what are the arguments, maybe doing a bit of research outside of the training about some of the concepts which feel a bit more difficult. And but based on that, it's definitely doable. I hope that helps, but if you have if there are any other details I could provide, I'd be happy to.
I think that answer was okay because he thanked you. Any other questions from the public?
Thank you.
You can ask your questions live or simply drop them in the chat like the others did. We don't oblige you to go live.
Oh, I had just one more thing to add. We have been doing this preparation in our team as well, and we've had quite a few people without prior programming experience, which have passed the associate certification. So we know it's replicable.
Yeah, that's a good piece of information.
Took a bit of
Calin, again,
work. They're great people. Sorry, please go.
Actually, I'm like I'm into like testing background. So is it like good to start with like a developer associate course, then start with like test automation, or like directly go to test automation is fine? Because I started with like a associate course, actually associate academy, but then in the middle I saw like test automation, some videos. So I just gone there, like it was like a bit easy compared to the developer. So is it like better to start with a developer course as associate, then go to the test automation is better? Okay, so like which is the like better?
So are you interested in, let me see if I understand the question. Is your goal working with test automation, or would you like to be certified as an RPA developer and extend to test automation? I do understand that the background is test automation, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so would you be interested in going into RPA development and adding test automation to it, or what you're interested in is focusing on test automation
Actually,
and less RPA development?
Sorry, okay. I've been like attending like a few sessions, like others were giving as a they told like there is a like much scope for the automation, testing actually, because like there are not much people are there in like in the market as auto testers. Since I am working as a testing from 10 years, I've been working for a testing. So it's better to like, instead of switching to the developer background, so better to continue as a tester in that, like local tester as like that.
I'm sorry, the connection was a bit bad. I'm not sure I understood.
Okay, I'll just come again. Okay, so I've been working as a tester from past 10 years. So
yeah, okay,
so it's like it's easy for me as a like, if I start with the test automation in UiPath instead of going as a developer, RPA developer. So which suits for me, I think, better.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Calin, I can try to step in if you need me.
Yeah, definitely, Raswan. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm with Calin in the learning development team, and the reason why I want to answer is because I worked more on the test automation product. So I think it would be a clever path to start from there. Just keep in mind that in the test automation courses, and especially application testing with UiPath Test Suite, we are basically using the same infrastructure, to say so, that we use in RPA development. So what I mean by that, we're still using UiPath Studio, we are using UiPath Orchestrator. So I would say that you probably need to start with several courses in RPA Developer Foundation. So I'm not saying start with all of them, but for example, get started with RPA development, with Orchestrator for RPA developers, and maybe variables and UI automation. So the first 3 courses from RPA Developer Foundation plus Orchestrator, that should give you the right level of information from where you could go on application testing, just to kind of explore the functionalities from that angle. And then you would still need to go back to RPA Developer Foundation for the rest of the concepts that are needed for the certification.
Okay.
Yep. Calin, do you want to add anything?
My thought about this is that coming from a test automation background, It would be somewhat easy to pick up the concepts in the course, just at least based on the very, very limited experience I've had with test automation before joining UiPath. I've seen some similarities. So I agree with you, Razvan, that it would be very helpful to go maybe up to UI automation or even selectors, and then orchestrator as well, and see how you feel about those courses, Guru, and then you can try, and then you can decide. I would recommend you can decide if you want to go for, if you want to continue with preparing for the certification, or you want to focus on test automation a bit before. But my feeling is that it wouldn't be very hard to transfer the skills to automation.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope it helped.
Yep. Yep.
We have another question in the chat, also from Lei. What's the shortest time one can dedicate to complete the program? Example, 1-2 weeks.
That's a difficult question. It depends on a lot of variables, which is to say what your background is and how much time you can dedicate per day. Let's say if you have a programming background, it might be shorter. If you have a programming automation test automation background, again, it might be easier to pick up some of the concepts. If you don't have a programming background, again, it depends on, are you comfortable with processes and process management? What is your experience level with various types of business applications? And what is your understanding of general process management? That's why it's very, very hard to provide an answer. And again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend studying full day for 1 week or full day for 2 weeks. I mean, at best, maybe 4 hours per day. That would be a bit better, we'd recommend. Usually we've seen that kind of 2 hours per day, 2 to 3 hours per day in 4 weeks. That could be a healthy approach. Ideally, it should, let's say, take about 40 hours plus practice time to take the associate exam, but that can vary quite a bit depending on the background. If that helps, and it depends on how these 40 hours are distributed. Your question was, what was the shortest time? I don't have a very clear answer for that. Sorry, I don't have usually in our team with, let's say not exactly full time, let's say 4 hours per day. It usually took somebody maybe 3 to 4 weeks to get certified, starting from a point where they do not have a technical background.
I think
associate level.
I think that was quite an extensive answer. Perhaps, I don't know, a parallel between like the amount of predicted learning hours versus real time to complete. Would you say that's if you, for the classes, I think perhaps a comparison between the amount of learning hours estimated per each course versus the realistic time to complete? Like, what would you say about that?
This is something we still need to improve our data on. I don't have a really well supported answer. I've seen it vary quite a bit. I'm sorry.
I see Lei accepted your recommendations and he'll move forward on those. We have another question also from Mary. If someone fails the first attempt for the certification, will there be some way to know what areas or questions were missed and how to improve of those, like a report for the test?
Would you like to take this one, Niyaz?
Yeah, sure. So,
thank you.
Yeah. If you are giving the practice examination, then for sure, we will let you know what are the areas in which your questions went wrong and you can improve on those. But in the actual proctored examination, you can't see which questions were wrong. So that's only possible in the practice examination itself.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that at the end, I don't know if this is also true for failed exams, but I do believe that at the end of the actual exam, you do get at least a score per category.
Oh, yes. You get the score, but not the detailed description, which we give in the practice examination. So in the practice examination, it comes with the question. So this was the question, and this was the answer that you chose, which was incorrect. But in the actual examination, you don't get such information. You just get, the overall score. As in the topic 1, you scored this much, topic 2, you scored this much, and that's it. So from that, you can take a judgment in which area I would like to focus more.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary says,
thank you.
Thank you for the. Okay, I think this is about it. If no one has any other questions, Calin, if you want, we can take a look at the results from the survey. If you want to have a look now and perhaps comment a bit on those. We have like 7.
Sure thing. I'm not sure. Oh, cool. I'll stop sharing. So thank you so much for all your questions and your time.
Okay, so you can see now on screen what results we have from the survey.
Okay.
So this is I will move through the questions, but this is for the first one.
Okay, so we should probably increase the number of use cases a bit for the following edition for the 21.10 training. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, this is something that we will need to have a look on our own and try to put together the data. Of course, one of the problems here is that, at least for training purposes, we cannot use external applications. We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
With some mainframe use cases, we're actually working on a separate training on that.
That's a good insight.
API, HR. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I was expecting a very different result here. Thank you so much.
Oh, and why? I think everyone wants more detail when learning.
Yeah, I thought that some courses might need to be a bit shorter, but yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Okay, and let's see the last one.
No surprise here. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Data manipulation. Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what we have in the survey. And
thank you so much for your answers.
Yeah, thank you everyone who decided to participate in this survey. As you can see, it's very helpful for the Academy team. And I think now we can move to close the session if Niyaz and Calin don't have anything else to add.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
No. All good from the side.
Okay, so for closing the session today, we just wanted to give you another overview of our community ecosystem. Most of you are probably already familiar with it. Whatever features you find here, all of the thumbnails, these are actually options from our site. So if you go to community.uipath.com, you will be able to find and access all these resources. They are separate, of course, resources directed to learning, to support, to interaction, and support like mentorship, also networking. So, and also very much like community contribution in order to further the content in RPA and also become part of our programs like the MVP program, the Automation Champion program, or the chapter leaders, for example. So if you want to take any of these options or opportunity from the community ecosystem, please do check out our site at community.uipath.com. And last but not least, thank you so much for your participation today. It was a wonderful session, and I thank Niyaz and Calin for the great presentations. I hope it was worthy.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll stop recording and thank you everyone once again and bye-bye.
Thank you.